Hello everyone, this is ponderonweather. In this update, we've got a major storm coming with a very active setup headed into this weekend, followed by an Arctic blast and heavy snow going into next week. Good morning everyone, this is your March 3rd update. Go ahead and hit the like button as well as subscribe and the notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. Let's take a look at the overall water vapor imagery this morning on the North American view, and you can really see what's happening. We're watching two little features off here off the Pacific Northwest. That is an area of indication that's going to bring some more instability for the Pacific Northwest, as well as another deepening trough that's going to be developing off the west coast. That is going to take a beeline inward today, bringing some much needed rain into parts of California. But you can see where all the dry areas, where all the sinking areas, and that's the sinking area is a very dry area, and it heats up quickly. And there was no stranger yesterday into the Central Plains, where they had numerous record high temperatures. All these yellow dots, those were within 3 degrees of a daily record high temperature, but all the orange and deeper kind of magenta colors, those are indications of either tying or breaking a record. Plenty of places had Nebraska like portions well into the 80s yesterday, and I think this just moves further off into the northeast as we go throughout the day today, as that deepening ridge will be locked in place. But here's the precipitation over the last just year to date between January 1st through March the 2nd. I mean, this bona fide La Nina, folks. I mean, it's been bone dry in California, into the desert Southwest and parts of Texas. All these brown shaded areas, those are your well below average precipitation anomalies. There's not really too many greens in the map. Yeah, we got a lot of greens out here into the Tennessee Valley, into Kentucky, through the Ohio Valley, where they've been really getting some very active setups. But for the most part, the La Nina has been really dominating. So when we're talking about, rain for California, that's breaking news. That's some big time stuff, because they'll take any type of precipitation they get out there with this La Nina in place, and it's going to expected to remain in place for the rest of spring, unfortunately. So now we've got rain showers this morning. This is through Thursday afternoon. We can actually see that developing system. That's the west trough that's going to be entering portions of California as we get deeper into the overnight hours on a Thursday night. But this afternoon, we've got snow kind of breaking out into portions of eastern Oregon, parts of Canada here, as this system will finally start to come inland. But as we get through the day, going into tomorrow, getting into Saturday morning, once this system heads inward, goes into the Intermountain West, creates the instability, and that lift will create kind of the snow that's going to be breaking out in parts of the Intermountain West here in Nevada, going into parts of eastern Oregon here into Idaho. Yes, snow from Montana back into Wyoming here. That'll hit the Rockies with snow back into the Rocky Mountains here. And then you can actually see into the southern plains, they got a lift from the south. So you're going to be tapping into some of that Gulf moisture now. So it's subtle. It's very subtle. But once it hits portions of Minnesota here, that's going to be tapping into some of that colder air that's going to be dropping from Canada. We could have some overrunning conditions, going to have some little mixed precipitation into parts of Nebraska by then, heading into portions of, say, Minneapolis, heading into portions of Wisconsin. That'll be on Saturday morning. So as we extend the view and go through Saturday afternoon, I think with this dry line setting up, you can actually see on the dew points here, we're going to be getting a little bit more of an active setup with that low-level jet going to be racing across, going to be tapping into that south wind that's going to be lifting the moisture from the Gulf, tapping into some of those higher dew points. And we're talking dew points are going to be right around in the mid-50s by the time we get into Saturday afternoon into Iowa. And just north of there's the cold front, and there you can actually see where the low pressure will actually be right here by the triple point. And to the northwest of there, that's where the snow is going to be flying. To the south of there, that's where we're going to be creating those showers and thunderstorms. it doesn't look as unstable as it did actually yesterday. There's not as much instability in the atmosphere, but we do still have the lift. The synactic setup is still there, so it's still prevalent. You can actually see where this white is. That's where the low pressure will be to the northwest of there. That's the snow flying to the south of there. That's where they're going to create that instability and the lift to cause the atmosphere to rise. But this atmosphere does have a little bit of a cap in place. That's essentially kind of a warm air aloft. As the thunderstorms try to rise in that atmosphere, they get squashed down by that warm protected lid. So it causes, it kind of inhibits the thunderstorms to continue to rise. So the further, for them to not to be able to rise in that type of atmosphere, the less opportunities they have to become severe. And so there is going to be some kind of a thin boundary. We do have a lot of shear in this environment. So the setup is there. It's just some of the boundary layer, some of the moisture, some of the instability. It's just not the greatest for like a very active severe weather, say, breakout. But we're still going to have strong to severe thunderstorms. And the latest update from the Storm Prediction Center kept the slight risk for severe weather on the day on Saturday. So we're still 3 days out from this particular event. So a lot of times with severe threats, it has to come down with more or less, kind of fine-tuning and timing these setups. But right now it doesn't look as unstable as it did actually yesterday, but we're still going to be seeing some of those stronger thunderstorms in and around Iowa, going into portions of Kansas here, getting into the day on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night time frame. So, and like I mentioned, to the northwest of there, that's where the snow is going to be flying. So we got snow breaking out into parts of the Intermountain West, heading back into the Rockies, heading back into Denver here, where they're expecting 71 degrees today for a high temperature. And this was by Sunday, we got snow flying. That's how it works in Denver. Things rapidly changed in a big way. And as that system will come across, it's going to be dumping some heavier snow, swinging through parts of South Dakota into the portions of Minnesota here into the south of there. That's where you're going to be seeing some of those stronger storms into Iowa. And you can still see some of those stronger storms, just maybe not on the severe side in portions of Wisconsin. I think that will just shift actually through the Great Lakes and actually into portions of Michigan as we get through the overnight hours on Saturday. So as we expand the view and head to Sunday, we still got the flow heading off into the Pacific Northwest that still has the lift on the backside. So we're still going to be wringing out some snow into portions of the Rockies, and that will continue to dive southward into portions of New Mexico. Now the setup is going to be aligned into Oklahoma, into parts of around the Red River area, into Arkansas, into parts of Missouri, and that's where we're going to be creating some of that instability with that low-level jet swinging across. And I think that's the area that has a little bit more greater concern because it have a lot of the Gulf moisture contend with. Here's the integrated water vapor transport setup as we get into that Sunday night time frame. We've got plenty of fuel to fuel these thunderstorms. The dew points are going to be higher, not in the mid-50s. They're going to be in the mid-60s. So that's a different type of beast you're going to be working with. And I do feel as we get deeper into time, this is a day 4 setup. Right now they have a slight risk. I think this is the area that has the greatest probability of possibly increasing with a tornado threat, tornadoes as well as a severe threat as we get into that Sunday night time frame. But right now the way it looks is the greatest shear and the instability appears to be just northeast of the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex into northeast Texas, getting into southeastern Oklahoma, and pretty much the entire state of Arkansas is going to be impacted from this setup, and southern portions of Missouri, getting into the Memphis, Tennessee area. So we'll be definitely keeping an eye on this area, especially into Sunday night. So if you live in this section, definitely be weather aware with your weather radio handy for these alerts and warnings as we get into that Sunday night time frame. And then as we get into Monday, we're talking March the 7th now, you can actually see we have an initial blast of colder temperatures. So things are going to be changing in a big way with that trough coming down, heading from the west, and there's going to be several systems, kind of a parade of storms By then, we could be talking about more snow instead of severe weather in Iowa. Now we got snow talking about on Monday time frame, especially as we get into the Monday afternoon. And those darker shaded blues here and parts of Missouri here, that could be some moderate to heavier snow flying as the rain comes back, where they've been really inundated. I showed you at the beginning of the video where they've got the most rain so far this year. They're going to be getting more flooding rains in that same area around the Tennessee Valley, getting into Kentucky here, portions of Illinois, as well as Indiana, into Ohio, and down to the south here in Louisiana and the Mississippi, portions of Alabama. Those could actually be severe as well. It's just we're a couple days off from this particular setup, but I do feel that severe threat will continue to shift further off into the east, and we'll have to be dealing with some of those stronger severe thunderstorms by then. But here's the initial blast of kind of the colder temperatures, a huge difference from what the high temperatures are going to be today's, well into the 80s for much of the Central Plains. Now we're talking, high temperatures on Monday back in the 30s. So that's definitely a significant change on the table as we go to next week. And that's not even the Arctic air mass yet. And I think that's going to be following this initial setup. So this is just the initial blast of some of those colder temperatures and the big change that's coming for next week. So as we extend the view and go through that Tuesday time frame, March 8th, there's the snow. We'll be continue to lift off further off into the northeast. So now it gets back into places into Indiana, goes into parts of Ohio here, and parts of Canada as this continues to ride. You got the southwest flow. So I'm not expecting too much particular snow from this type of setup, because these temperatures are still going to be plenty warm, and it's going to be all on the form of rain. But some of this could be in the form of flooding rain. So definitely going to be contending with some heavier rain setups as we get through the day on that Tuesday time frame. But as we get into Wednesday, let me kind of just expand the view and really break things down for you, because that's just the initial blast of the colder temperatures, and I think we have a more significant colder blast coming from the more kind of the stretching of the polar vortex again. It seems to be, either I referred it to as it's doing yoga. So it's either doing, a downward dog or upward dog. And this week it's upward dog. And next week it's going to be downward dog as that polar vortex starts to elongate again. It starts to stretch out and it's going to head southward. And so by the time we get into that Wednesday time frame, March 9th here, man, we got another developing trough out here in the Pacific Northwest. We've got a huge trough coming out of Canada. These are all going to merge and pull the colder temperatures all the way down into Mexico. This is coming, guys. I mean, the EPO, the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, is a -4 deviation. That typically implies that has a lot of legs with it, with the combination of that stretching of the polar vortex and the teleconnections going well negative, especially the EPO going -4 deviations negative. That cold air is plunging southward, and I don't think it stops to Mexico. It's going to be changing in a big way, and this is by the time we gets into that Friday, March the 11th time frame, diving all the way down into the southern plains. And as we get deeper into next weekend, say around the 12th time frame, that will subside and start lifting up through the Ohio Valley, through portions of Kentucky now. So now portions of the Ohio Valley is going to be inundated with that Arctic air in place by the time we get into that March 12th time frame. So here's the setup on the surface map. So as we take you back through the 9th, so here's that initial trough heading south again. We got more snows going to be breaking back out into portions of eastern Washington, eastern Oregon here, portions of Idaho, getting more snow back into Montana. As we continue to push southward, as we extend the view into Friday, man, there's the Arctic blast. I mean, we're talking 20, 30 below average temperatures coming for the deep south again as that cold air continues to come back. So it's just rapid roller coaster temperatures. It's going to be the complete opposite next week as what you're experiencing this week, as the winter comes back with a vengeance into the central plains, into the southern plains, as that cold air will plunge all the way down into Mexico. And this colder temperatures will just shift eastward as we going through the weekend. But underneath that, we could be talking more snow. Yeah, so don't be planting any plants. I know it's 80 degrees down here, but don't be planting any plants because we got another freeze coming for portions of the south here. So we got snow flying again into Kansas. We got probably some snow flying back into Oklahoma. We'll fine tune this because now we're getting into, you know, about 8 days out, but it definitely appears that cold front is, and that strong Arctic blast is heading southward. And some of these areas where you thought you were done with winter, you're not. Okay, it's definitely coming back. We got more snow flying in the Texas Panhandle by then. We're probably going to be more snow into Arkansas, back into Missouri here, and that just continues to shift eastward. And that cold air, man, look at that. There's the 20 to 30 degrees below average temperatures heading into, you know, Missouri, heading all the way down into the south portions of the southeast, through the Tennessee Valley, through the Ohio Valley. There's Kentucky. Man, they get crushed with that Arctic blast by the time we get into next weekend. So this is, you know, we're getting into that, you know, 9-10 days out time frame now. But yeah, as I think the initial blast will be on Monday, and then we'll have another stronger Arctic blast going through, say, the 10th, 11th, and 12th time frame. So underneath that Arctic blast, by the time we get into that 12th time frame, now we got more snow coming back for the Ohio Valley, more snow getting back into the picture in Kentucky, into West Virginia now. And I think this will just start to fill in as all these dynamics start to come together and the colder temperatures continues to push off to the northeast, and that northwest flow stays active. But look at the temperatures and the cold temperatures, the morning lows by the time we get into that Saturday, March the 12th time frame. All those purples go to single digits into portions of Missouri, back into Kansas, Oklahoma, you're in the teens, Texas, you're into the freezing temperatures, if not a hard freeze, all the way down into central Texas, portions of Louisiana, back into Mississippi, into Alabama, getting back into Tennessee, going into Kentucky with widespread 20s. So yeah, winter is coming back with a vengeance. Not this week, but next week, things rapidly change again, and you're going to see much dramatic temperature changes in a big way, especially as we get into deeper the next week, you know, heading into next weekend. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. I'll continue to keep you ahead of the storm. So be sure to hit the like button and subscribe and catch all my daily updates where I keep you ahead of the storm.